X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
I'm Zach. Hey Adam, you know what we don't talk about enough on this show?
What's that? Romance?
Which characters do you think should kiss?
I think I've been pretty open about how I love Colossus and Domino as a couple. But as people who may remember, a few years back, I did write an article about the countdown to the best relationships in Cyclops' life. And number one was Cyclops and Emma, which I still do stan.
I have no recollection of you writing this article, Adam.
Do you remember?
I'm sure I read it.
Do you remember that failed experiment that I did for a couple months where I tried to draw everybody that kissed each other in the X-Men?
Yes.
So then I did one of Cyclops, and then I wrote it for AIPT and got a lot of heat for that. Because people
from the Jott shippers,
you know, they're a force to be reckoned with.
I don't know what the ship name is. Well, let's see. You got the Scemmas, which are Scott and Emma. By the way, guys, it was cute when they did it for Benifer. It has not been cute or clever or good since. And in fact, Jott and Scemma may be two of the worst portmanteaus I've ever heard in my life. And we cannot let people use those like they're regular words.
Plus, they're irrelevant. I mean, at this point, they're all hooking up anyway. So, you know,
that's the beauty. That is the beauty of Krakoa, that they fixed it all. But like, okay, you know, they're all having sex. And we know they're all having sex. And this mouse over here won't let us say it. But we all know. Like, right. It's not... It's subtext in the same way that, like, sometimes an author doesn't explicitly write on the words. And then these two are in a relationship also. You just read the things and understand it.
Right. So, and the other thing is that Benifer is back. You know what I mean? Like with a vengeance.
Oh my gosh, Benifer is back with a vengeance. I don't keep up with celebrity news. I really don't.
Yeah, that's okay. But before, we are going to talk about Scemma forever this week. That's our theme. But you didn't answer your own question. Who do you stan?
I don't ship Cyclops with Maddie because, frankly, I think they are in a bad relationship with
that's
each
a bad
other.
idea.
Personally, I love Cyclops with Boat Captain Lee Forrester.
Oh yeah, that's a great.
I've gone on record of saying that that's great, actually, and rules.
Yeah.
But in more reality than that, I like Scott and Jean as a couple. I really think that Scott and Emma have a better dynamic as a couple, where Scott and Jean tend to be the couple that loves each other. Scott and Emma have tension, which is more fun for me, the person trying to be entertained by these comic books. To enjoy. It's why I don't want Peter Parker to be happily married. I'm sorry. I know there's people mad about this. I'm not reading comics to cuddle up next to my best friends and be like, hi guys, I'm glad everyone is okay. I want that nasty drama. And I'm not saying marriages can't have drama, but I'm also saying that I'm not sure the specific flavor of drama that you get in a marriage is necessarily the flavor of drama that Spider-Man needs or wants.
And we don't have to worry about that because we're not a Spider-Man podcast, but we are going to talk about Scott and Emma this week. Thanks to...
Oh, that's Connor Mulvaney. Connor's a Patreon supporter.
Yeah.
Went on over to patreon.com/comicsxfd, deep down into their hearts and pocketbooks, tossed a couple coins into our coffers and said, folks, Scemma forever. That's all the request was. It just said Scemma forever.
Yeah. And that's
truly a beautiful request. Like, I'm telling you, guys, gals, everyone, when you make a request with your $5, which you folks,
please
bring in those requests. We love them. When you bring in those requests, stupid sentences, are really hard for me and Adam because we try so hard.
We overthink it sometimes, you know?
We have one that's coming up at some point in the future that is such a specific ask that me and Adam have gone through months of trying to figure out which one, what to do. And we're stretching it to get
We
there.
cracked that nut. We're okay.
We cracked it earlier before this. Just like Grant Morrison cracked how to add some new dynamics into their new X-Men run in New X-Men Annual #1 from 2001, The Man from Room X. It's written by Gmo, whose book Luda I just picked up from the library because it was on a shelf and I saw it and I was like, I'm like halfway through the novel I'm already reading. This was on my list.
That's the one about the drag queens? What's in that one?
I think Scotland's magical, and then there's drag queens, and one of them is definitely somewhat Grant Morrison, and another one is definitely people that Grant Morrison has that have surpassed Grant Morrison or feel like they are rivals with him.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It's a very interesting concept. I almost at the same time, just to really get into it, picked up Alan Moore's new thing, but it was already all known at that particular branch of the library, so I'd have to get an interlibrary loan. It'd be a whole thing, so I just added it to the list.
That's short stories, right?
It's short stories, but there's also a 200-page scathing or extended short story about the comics industry that I do want to read.
Okay. Well, this particular annual that we're starting off with today is from what, 2001?
2001. It's right after it. Chronologically, it is right after E is for Extinction.
Right. And if you get the E is for Extinction TPB, as I have sitting on my bookshelf, this is included, sandwiched in between this issue, the last issue of E is for Extinction and the next issue of New X-Men, which I think is 117.
117 is the next one. Laniel Francis Yu does the art on this.
Yep.
Jerry Angulian, rest in peace, does the inks. Hi-Fi Design is on those colors. You know what this one's about, Adam.
Well, okay, so your boy is here.
My boy.
Your boy.
I have so many boys. Let's be clear. This is not the first appearance of my pink boy.
This is not Glob. It is not Maggot. It is your one of two. It's a set. Who's hiding out in a Chinese?
Zorn's the man from Room X.
That's right.
Let's talk. Okay, before we get to the Zorn of it all, let's take the story on face value as it is presented to us in this comic, and then we can talk about how, while I like the Zornito retcon, maybe could have been seeded a little bit stronger.
Oh, you mean how it doesn't make any damn sense?
I mean how Grant did their best.
Did they?
I think they did. I think Grant tried really, really hard.
So, for the theme of our episode, this is a notable issue because this is the introduction of Emma Frost to the new X-Men team. And she just kind of pops up. You know, Cyclops is like, why are you here? Aren't you our enemy? And Emma Frost is basically like, wait, no. Remember, I taught Gen X and I care about kids and I'm gonna, I'm just joining the team, And if you didn't like me, I was drunk.
She's a prominent part of E is for Extinction, but she's not a member of the team proper, really. So this is her first outing there.
Right.
It's interesting. She does say, listen, Scott, the 80s were a weird time. I did a lot of cocaine. I may have tried to psychosexually terrorize your wife. I'm sorry about that, I guess. But can we put that past us? We have to go solve the murder of Risque from X-Force, everyone's favorite X-Force supporting character.
Wild pick on Grant's part there. And
Grant Morrison is just throwing characters at the wall, like in a very Fox's the X-Men sort of way.
Yes. And there is this great moment where they admit that no one has met Risque. No one knows who she is, but they're going to, gosh darn it. She was working with Domino at X Corporation headquarters in Hong Kong, and they're going to go, try and figure out what happened. Emma is already flirting with Scott, which I love.
Immediately. Here's the thing. In this, I think Morrison's New X-Men gets this credit, but I don't think people understand how monumental a shift this was. This is 3 months, if that, after Marvel had left the Comics Code. And now this run is about sex.
Right.
This run is just about sex. Like, immediately.
Yeah, Domino is in this issue, and immediately Wolverine and Domino are planning on hooking up after they do their ninja spy stuff in this issue.
They're just casually hooking up. Like, not in the Storm and Yukio casually hooking up off panel way. They're very explicit, like, yeah, then we go back and then yeah. Right. We are going to have sex after this, which I actually really like that beat for Wolverine and Domino. I think it fits both of their characters really well to just have like a casual sex relationship with one another.
Yeah, I've never really quite bought into that, but I have to admire the way it's just kind of casually thrown out in this issue.
I think it fits both of them individually. I don't necessarily see Wolverine and Domino as a pair in so much as they're both like, I want to have sex with somebody, and you're down, and you're pretty good at it. So
yeah,
we don't really have. I don't think they have a spark or real chemistry when they do it, but it's both. They're both at the baseline level of sophisticated and qualified to bone down, and it works out for
them. We're also introduced to John Sublime here and his U-Men, including the dorks who set themselves up inside like mech astronaut suits and don't want to breathe the foul air of the world anymore. The third species.
Let's talk about the U-Men, because the U-Men may be the most fascinating thing that Morrison throws out that doesn't get picked up on. Like, I feel like the U-Men are too conceptual. Not the idea of humans wanting to be mutants and harvesting them for their powers. Like, okay, that part makes sense. But how Morrison specifically frames Sublime is so much using, like, Twitter's dying. We all know this. And Morrison has Sublime use that same like social justice talk and perverting it into being about his U-Men and being like, well, why can't, if the gays have their own parade, why can't we have a straight parade?
Oh yeah. No, that's 100% his approach and his pitch.
It's a fascinating examination of this. And it's something that Charlie Jane Anders has picked up on.
I was just going to say that
in her new mutant stuff right now that does bring back the U-Men and Sublime, and is using it in a very similar way, because this is a Morrison book, so it's very gender.
Yeah,
it's very gender, and Charlie Jane Anders is using that in an explicit way to talk about trans issues in a Marvel comic right now, which is very fascinating. I'd like to see. It's cool to see just reading that first issue and then reading this annual pretty close to one another. The connective tissue is all there. It's very tight.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I feel like Anders is vibing with this pretty hard. So we mentioned that Domino and Wolverine have to do some like spy ninja stuff, and the spy ninja stuff they have to do is they have to jump in on an interesting creation here, which is Ao Jun.
Whose dandruff makes golems.
Yeah, what? What a power.
Why has Ao Jun not come back?
Well, because he's dead.
Buddy, we're in the Krakoan age.
Oh, I know, but why would you bring this guy back? He definitely
why wouldn't you?
He wanted to go out. He wanted to go out.
This is a great power set. Ao Jun is being used by John Sublime. They're trying to get access into a secret Chinese government facility where there's been a man with a star for a brain chained up. Everyone in this comic talks about Cyclops, and like almost everyone talks about him in almost a sexual way. Like Wolverine talks about Cyclops and is like, yeah, listen, it's got to stick up his butt, but I love him. He's the best.
You want that guy on your team? He's on my team. Wink, wink.
Emma, very horny for Scott. Just immediately, she's like, she gets it, and they're like, Emma, he just had a really traumatic time. No one wants to talk about the 12, but they are talking about the 12, which I think is funny.
Yeah. There's also There's also a human centipede kid in this, which is really disturbing. Who, God, I just feel bad for this poor child who just needs like his wings back. Uh,
Yeah, the
it's
U-Men have them now.
Yeah, it's rough. So there's some fun action beats here, including Domino and Wolverine just like taking a chance of jumping out a window and oh wait, there's a pool there. That's fun. But of course, all of this leads to the keys to Zorn being given to Cyclops, and Cyclops basically has to decide: what are we doing here? Like, if we let this guy go, are we risking like opening a black hole and sucking in our entire planet, or should we invite him to go teach at our school?
And what Cyclops decides is the Cyclops movie says, listen, dude, and everyone's freaking out about this, except for Wolverine, who's like, no, Cyclops has got this.
Yeah.
He's like, I've had rough time. People treated me really bad because I was a mutant, which is fair. Cyclops was viciously tortured by Mr. Sinister for a very long time. Cyclops just says, bud, we have a different way. We're doing things differently now. So you can join the X-Men because we're not leaving mutants behind. We are. It is Morrison making a statement about the X-Men are going to be different,
Mhm.
and there is going to be a rescue component to it. It's not going to be, and you're going to join our paramilitary group. It's going to be, you're a mutant, and we take care of our own.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that works for me a lot.
So talk to me about how you think, because it's very explicit that when Emma reads Zorn's mind, she's getting the history of Zorn as a child through adolescence. Where do you see the success in him seeding the Magneto and into
Oh,
all of
absolutely
this?
zero. Absolutely zero.
Oh, okay.
I see no. Listen, if you told me that Silver Age Magneto used his Chinese government contacts to fabricate this giant backstory and all of this history and all of these local legends, I would believe that story in 1965. It's 2001, and Grant is telling a more sophisticated story. So, no, I don't actually think the Zorn stuff makes sense. We know that it was always intended.
Mhm.
Execution, so.
Yeah.
Love the design of Zorn. Love the
Yeah.
idea that Zorn has a star in their head. It's great.
I really enjoy this issue. You know, it is you kind of coming into his own. The style has definitely evolved.
It is a lot
Since
closer to the Leinil Francis U of today than
yeah,
like the U of right before this in
yeah,
like Eva Destruction.
right. Like there's an evolution to the style which looks fantastic. Um, you know, there's just some really fun stuff happening in this issue. So I enjoy this quite a bit. We should try and rank this on our big old
Well,
list.
there's one thing that I want to talk
Oh,
about on
sorry.
this issue. No, you're fine. There's one thing I want to make sure we talk about this issue, and that's the presentation.
Oh, right.
This
We didn't even mention that the sideways issue.
this is a sideways issue. They put it on the side. They called it Marvel Scope. Where you know how normally comics are folded and stapled hamburger style? They went hot dog style on this one,
Portrait
and it would
landscape.
open up like that. Yes, but specifically in how the like staples went.
Yes.
And where the binding side is. They did this for Uncanny X-Men Annual 2001, Extreme X-Men Annual 2001, and New X-Men Annual 2001, as well as a series called Eden's Trail that I've never read.
Yeah, I didn't know if they did this to anything else that year.
No, they did it for those, and I think for a art standpoint, it works. I see the appeal. I like it. It's stuff like Frank Miller's 300 is done like this. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Here's the problem.
Okay.
How do you sell a comic book? You sell it on a shelf or a rack.
Right.
If it's sitting on like this, it's damaging the comic already on the rack, and it's sitting weird, and no one. Store owners, Tom Brevoort had this in a recent newsletter. It said, yeah, store owners hated it because it was a pain to stock. So we stopped doing it.
Interesting.
Simple as that.
That's interesting. I still think it works, even though when I pick it up with my trade, I still have to turn the book sideways. Yeah, it's a nice like 90s era style gimmick, you know, and I think it works really well with used art. So
I think Hugh's knocking it out of the ballpark here.
Yeah.
We should rank this story though, like you were saying
sure
earlier before someone so rudely interrupted you.
Not at all. Not at all. Well, what is this list, Zach?
It's a list of all the X-Men stories of all time, ranked from best to worst. We've been doing it for 5 years now because we love to make ourselves suffer, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. This is the only place I ever want to talk about X-Men. I've made that explicitly clear.
Yes.
Number 1 on this list is House of X Powers of 10. Number 100 on this list is X-Men Alpha Flight. Number 200 on this list is New X-Men The Quest for Magic. Number 300 on this list is Deadpool The Circle Chase. Number 400 on our list is Nightcrawler, Volume 4, 1 through 4. That's that first Claremont arc of Nightcrawler. Number 500 on this list is X-Men 165. It's one of the Christmas issues. I don't remember which one. I think it's the one after Austin. Number 600 on this list is, that Ms. Marvel story from Marvel Superheroes that would have introduced the Hellfire Club but didn't.
Oh, right.
Number 700 on this list is X-Men 100th Anniversary Special. The X-Men have not even celebrated their 60th anniversary as of this recording. The bottom of this list is the Draco. Adam, I'm going to say something.
Go for it.
This is better than number 200.
I'm going to say something else. I think it's better than X-Men Alpha Flight at 100.
That's a bold spot. I don't think it's wrong, but I think that's a bold spot. Because, this is better.
102 is the Hickman run of New Mutants, which I think is a lot of fun. But I think that what Morrison is introducing here is bolder.
Yes, I agree, actually. Like, 106 is Everything is Sinister. These are stories we like a lot.
Mm-hmm. But I think this is stronger, you know? I think the high part of 100s is where or the high double digits is where we should be. Because, I don't think this is better than the Astonishing X-Men arc of AOA at 70. Yeah,
or the Righteous Return of You-Know-Who at 72.
Yeah, I think we're in the right spot on the list. But I do think at 76, we have the Morlocks miniseries. I think this is better than that. You know, that Iron Fist issue is pretty good. Iron Fist 15
is a pretty good issue of comics where Jean Grey does get Storm gets potato salad thrown at her.
Yeah. And I think right above that at 74 is Fantastic Four versus the X-Men, which I think that's probably better than this.
And right above that is Wolverine Blood and Claws, a story that I remembered earlier this week and chuckled to myself.
That's also better. So
that's better. This is better than the Jeff Johns Morlocks, though.
Yes.
I'm going to let you decide on Iron Fist. Fist, my gut feel is that the annual's probably a better technically executed comic, but I thought of the Iron Fist comic and wanted to immediately reread it.
Yeah, it's they're neck and neck here. I want to give the edge to the classic Claremont because that's a really fun issue.
Great. Number 76 is New X-Men Annual 2001, The Man from Room X.
Yeah. All right. Great. That's the best showing a comic has had in a really long time on the show.
It really is. I don't know if we've been doing the stinkers.
No, they haven't been. They just, they haven't been upper tier.
Speaking of upper tier, in the upper tier of current X-Men comics is, of course, Kieran Gillen's Immortal X-Men coming hot off the heels of Axe Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take this back a little bit to AVX, not AEX, and Uncanny X-Men at the time. Still Kieran Gillen. Ron Garney on this one. It's Uncanny X-Men 18. It is a Phoenix 5 story, and by Phoenix 5, I mean Marvel Cinematic Universe star Namor has already fled Wakanda, so he has lost his part of the Phoenix Force. Colossus and Ileana did technically bad things, but I think Colossus gave Wales some feet, and that was about it.
Yeah, and they have also lost their powers. So the only remaining Phoenix-powered people are Scemma, Scott and Emma, and we are sort of in between the panels in some of this from the AVX regular series.
We're in the middle of issue 9 of AVX.
Yes, like we're happening
issue 11, because it ends on the same endpoint as issue 11.
Right. So they formed Utopia on Earth. Great. Magneto, little concerned. He's not super psyched about the direction that things are going in.
Okay, I love the conversation that Scott has with Magneto, because Magneto is like, boy, you're acting like I used to act. And Cyclops, echoing Marvel's marketing for the last 3 years, or last year and a half or so, says, everyone keeps saying that I'm being just like you, Magneto. I'm nothing like you. I'm winning.
Yeah, it's a slam. It's a burn.
Scotty, my dude, my boy, my brother. Oh, you just dunked on him, buddy.
Yeah. I also like there's a whole centerpiece here with Colossus and Ileana, and Ileana trying to explain to Peter that he always has this precious idea of what his sister is and never really understands the torment and the suffering that she's gone through. And she's basically using this as an opportunity to be like, oh, you feel like crap? Guess what my life has been, And it's a weird moment, but I think it does work.
Yeah, it's really the Colossus and Ileana beats here work in the context of the story that had been told with Ileana since her return, and the setup for that. I don't think it jives as much with the Ileana of today, because Ileana's had a bit of a pivot as she has become more of a main character. Because you got to remember, this is the first book that she was a member of the X-Men. Like,
right.
This is the one where that starts. So it's interesting.
Well, and it's weird because before this is Zeb Wells' New Mutants. So
right.
You're still like not quite even sure what this character is. And now, of course,
there is a point.
We've all shrugged it off.
Yeah, she's it's magic. Don't worry about it.
She's delightful.
She's great. I love her. She's a member of so many teams now. If you play her before turn 5, she will turn the location to Limbo, which means that there is a turn 7.
Yes.
In this game, which is great. Love this for her. But she does have the line that I have had stuck in my head since I read it, where she tells him, she says, "Oh, Peter, there are no snowflakes in hell."
Yeah. Yeah. Causing him to turn into the Juggernaut.
Rules. Yeah. She does say, by the way, this is where Ileana maybe made some mistakes and did some wrongs. She does say, by the way, Peter, to prove this point to you, I did trick you into becoming the Juggernaut, which led to your breakup with Kitty, which has generally ruined your life since. So I did that. That one was me.
Yep.
That was a trick to prove a point.
She sees it as a gift. And then our last set piece is a mental steak dinner between Scott and Emma on the astral plane as they battle it out with the Avengers and the X-Men and Professor X. And some interesting notes here, such as the au jus of the on this particular steak is human blood.
The steak's also human meat. They're eating from the memory of a cannibal that that Emma used her Phoenix-powered psychic abilities to destroy his mind.
Yeah, it's really, really creepy though. And even Scott is kind of like put off by this, which is interesting.
Everyone's put off by it. And there's a line because, if you read AVX 11 and then this, AVX 11, it looks like a very generic fight scene. In this, Cyclops and Emma are being very casual. And there's a line that Cyclops says, they have no idea how much bigger we are.
Right.
They have no idea what them having the Phoenix Force has done to them mentally. Like, Scott and Emma are so much higher elevated than everybody else. Every other being here just cannot get on their level. And I think it works. I think this is what Gillen adds to AVX. Adds a lot of emotion and a lot of color to the Phoenix 5 side of this. And I really enjoy that.
Emma also reveals that she thought about having an affair with Namor and doesn't go so well. Scott's
so Emma thought about having an affair with Namor. She didn't, but because Emma and Namor are both Phoenix powered, her thoughts were enough, and his thoughts, being Namor and just being a horny guy, were enough that they did have a psychic affair. Like, they describe it almost as like a uncontrollable thing. And part of it is, obviously, it was the Phoenix, like, driving this stuff, not their direct actions. That's enough to piss off Scott. Here's the thing, Scott, buddy. You did try and use the psychic affairs don't count argument once.
Right.
You can't be mad that Emma's using the psychic affairs don't count argument.
Well, it doesn't matter because whether it's out of his anger or out of his need to consolidate the power, this is the moment that Cyclops destroys Emma and sucks up the Phoenix Force for himself.
He sucks it up for himself, and then
That's
it's
right.
like, hey,
He
what
is the Dark
happens
Phoenix.
next? I am Phoenix. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
This is where Scott and Emma break up. They are at this point not a couple and will not be a couple until Krakoa, where again, no one's making a big deal out of it.
Mm-hmm.
No one's saying anything. But Scott is in a relationship with Emma in some scenes, in a relationship with marriage with Jean and some others. And I don't think we can chalk that up to a continuity error. So what could it be?
No, not at all.
What could it be?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just asking these questions, Marvel. Again, I want to be clear. Me asking these questions is not asking these questions of the creators who are doing their darndest. It's me asking the questions of a company that has, at best, been resistant to showing anything outside of standard husband-wife marital relations.
I feel like we at least got some naked X-Men in a hot tub in Marauders. That was a step.
It was. I'd like to point out that the first time we got that in Marauders, a time where it was an explicitly sexual situation, people had to have clothes drawn on them.
Yeah. Yep.
And in this issue of Marauders, where it was explicitly non-sexual, they were allowed to be naked. What does that mean? I don't know. Disney's got some weird ideas for their standards and practices group.
I'm just shaking my head here. I do love the way this issue ends.
Steve, you're trying your best.
Yeah. Oh, I do love the way this issue ends with Scott literally drinking a champagne glass full of fire and saying, "I am fire and life incarnate," and then it just cuts. It's a great ending.
Ron Garney, this is not my favorite Ron Garney work, but I think he does really good stuff here.
It's a fine issue. I agree. I don't think that this is like Ron's best work. It looks a little rushed. I think the writing is much better than the artwork.
Yeah.
So where do you think we're going here? Because I don't think this is nearly as good as where we just were.
Where do we have the Sinister AVX stuff?
That is oh geez, I feel like
that is at 86. This is worse than that. That's at 86. Number 19, I don't know where it is, but it's high on this list. Oh, it's at 23.
Yeah, the issue that's right after this, The Passion of Scott Summers.
Yeah, Sinister London is in the high hundreds. That's everything is Sinister. That's 107.
Mm-hmm.
Everything Sinister is better than this.
I don't think this is as good as either of those.
It's not. But I mean, like, this is a pretty good crossover.
It is a solid issue. I think we're probably in the hundreds here, not the 200s.
It's a tie-in issue that wouldn't exist if it wasn't a tie-in, and is worse because it's a tie-in issue.
Yeah. It just feels a little incomplete, you know?
It does. Fun fact, when I was reading this the first time, I had not read AVX, so this was my entire point of view to the Avengers versus X-Men experience. It's really like, what's going on with Scott? I don't know. He's doing something. It's fine.
Okay.
Oh, Namor lost his powers? Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
207 is Extraordinary X-Men 17, which is an IVX tie-in, and I think is better.
That's that Great Storm issue. Yeah.
That's the good one. Yeah.
Better or worse than the Power Pack 19 Thanksgiving issue at 2.
That Thanksgiving issue is better than this.
Okay. So we're working our way down.
This is better than X-Men the manga 1 through 4 at 225.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it's better than the Gold Balls issue of Uncanny Volume 335, which is at 224. But I think Cable and X-Force's first arc is probably better than this.
Let's put it between those, because I would almost argue that Gold Balls issue is better, but I'm not going to argue that. That does have Valerio Schiti art.
That's true. So this is going to be our new 223. Uncanny
223.
X-Men Volume 2, number 18.
Great showing, Gillen. And Gillen's only got better at writing X-Men since then.
Oh, man. Absolutely killing it. Now, our last arc is in the aftermath of the Scemma breakup. And this is Uncanny X-Men Volume 3, 1-4 by Mr. Bendis and Chris Bachalo.
Yeah, the thing is, Adam, we've got to join the revolution here.
We do.
There's a revolution calling you.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about this run. This is a weird way to open a run of comics, right?
I had not revisited this in a while. Now,
right.
Loved this book and all new as it was coming out. Right.
I've got a page of Chris Bachalo art from this run behind me.
Yeah, you've got the Fabio Medina page with the balls, right?
I have actually there are no balls on that page. It is Fabio. It's from number 8 when he goes back to visit his family.
Oh, I love it.
It's a good issue. It's a good issue, good art.
So far we have seen this team on the pages of All New, but this is where we're finally going to follow Cyclops off to his school and see what's going down. And interesting. So talky. Like,
it's so talky.
I was jumping back into X-Men when this came out. So I have a very, very fond, I think I jumped back probably after Schism, and I was following it through, and I was psyched about all this stuff. Like, I just thought it was great. And, I love the artwork. I love these characters, the team of, Tempest, Triage. We've got Morph here. Gold Balls.
Yeah. I love Gold Balls.
Like, I legitimately just love these characters. I love this lineup. I love their costume redesigns, the Racer X Cyclops, the white Magneto. This is where we get the contemporary Magic look,
this is where Magic becomes a Final Fantasy character, which I truly believe is one of the reasons Magic takes off.
Yeah.
It's a great look. Also, I know people have their qualms with it. It's got incredible elements that you can see continue to hang out even in her new gold look, which I like and I understand the story reasons for, and eventually she will go back to the black costume. But
probably. Just a quick side note: anybody who is drawing Magic these days and her little like weird things that come out of the side of her head do need to go back to these issues and look at what it actually is. Because there's a headband that actually goes behind her ears, and there's another piece to it that nobody draws anymore. Even Chris Bachalo probably doesn't draw it anymore.
I like that she just now has like 4 floaty prongs
stick out of her head. So
Emma is, for the record, wearing the Chris Bachalo costume.
Yes, the U-cut Lady Mastermind outfit.
There is a phrase for it that friend of the show Connor Goldsmith has come up with on Cerebro that does use words that I told Connor he couldn't use last time he was on the show, so he'll get mad at me if I say them here. But
we'll skip that. But yes, absolutely,
it's a Bachelor top.
There you go.
Now you can mute that in, Adam. Now you have extra work in editing, Adam.
This is a pretty bonkers couple of issues though, because the whole first issue is basically Magneto and Maria Hill talking in a shield stand. Oh, we also get Bald Magneto.
So the thing about Bald Magneto, I kind of love it because for this whole first issue, it's supposed to psych you out and make you think that Charles Xavier is alive again.
Right. You're like,
Charles
who's that
Xavier.
bald guy?
Charles Xavier is, no, it's Magneto.
Yep.
Magneto's very concerned about Cyclops. His powers aren't working. It's all going weird. They think Cyclops is doing a revolution thing. This is what I think is really smart about Uncanny X-Men and All New X-Men and like the Bendis era, at least in concept at the start.
Mm-hmm.
It poses that Cyclops is bad and wrong and doing something awful and assumes that it plays it very straight that the reader is going to follow along with that and agree with that because the heroes are saying it, so it must be true. But very clearly and very intentionally, Bendis is just having Cyclops do X-Men things.
Right. And Magneto is very clear within like an issue that he's playing Maria Hill and that
oh, no,
everything he's saying to them is baloney.
Yeah,
It's
no,
great.
I think Cyclops are on the right front, but I know there's Sentinels around, and I've got to figure out who's sending the Sentinels, so I need Maria on my side.
That's
And you
right.
couldn't know because Avengers. I mean, you're like, fine, Magneto, you do your own thing. But like this is where it starts, because you even get like a crossover with All New X-Men on the last issue here, where they go to the school and bring people back, and it starts with Warren, and you know that this is what Bendis is trying to do, is like, actually Cyclops, you know what, I think Cyclops may be making some valid points, because by the end, or by issue 25, it's all of the kids from the past have joined up with Cyclops because they realize he's doing X-Men stuff,
right?
And Beast is being told that he's the worst person in the world, so maybe we were misled. I think Bendis is pretty smart in the setup of this. Execution doesn't always go the right way.
Well, here's where it works, right? When we get
these
flashbacks to like some really fun action stuff, like where they rescue gold balls, they fight the Sentinels.
Rules.
All great. You know, you get these amazing those famous Chris Bachalo Dutch angle pages where everything's askew.
Chris is going wild,
right, on
these.
Yeah, it's really fun to see him trying to do these new things with double page spreads. Where I think it gets a little more lackluster is where it does get talky in ways that don't really help the story. So, for example, there is, in between issues 2 and 3, it's the Avengers show up. So they've gone back to Eva Bell's house, and the Avengers are there because Magneto has tipped Maria Hill off. And anyway, so the Avengers have shown up, and instead of like there's a lot of fun possibilities here, they just basically argue about whether to arrest Cyclops for like 20 pages.
I don't
hate
it. It really depends how much you like Bendis dialogue.
Right.
There is a point in that fight where Bendis makes fun of Marvel Now Hulk's stupid design with the armor.
Yeah, that doesn't even make sense.
Why does the Hulk have armor? That doesn't make sense. It's so dumb. Why do we let them do that? Bendis is in his making fun of his fellow Marvel creators era, and I am for it.
It's by no means like terrible writing or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that, because the character work here is fantastic. Eva Bell gets this little flashback. She's starstruck to see Captain America. However, it feels a little slow, and it also feels a little repetitious if you know that Cyclops was already arrested for this crime and just broke out of prison.
This is a character-heavy story, these 4 issues, and it is very plot-light. There is very little plot within these first arc.
Not much happens.
It's hard to say that there's a beginning, middle, and end. There is definitely a beginning, and then there is definitely a middle. And then the next arc happens.
Right, because immediately magic freaks out at the end of this arc, and we go right into the Fraser Irving stuff with Dormammu. So, we're seeding all of the stuff about their powers being screwed up by the Phoenix, even though that turns out later not to be true. And, it sets a new kind of status quo for these characters and what they're going to be doing. I enjoy it quite a bit. I think it's really fun. There's a whole bit where they go, I think it's issue 4, when they end up at the Jean Grey school, and Emma is just spending the majority of the time having this really, really great conversation with the Cuckoos, and about how, okay, well, are you going to come with me? Like, I know I'm not your mom, but like, and they're starting to be a little bit more individual. Like, all of these things that are kind of fleshed out over the course of this series really do start right here, and he does a nice job.
It is a really fun start. I like it. You're gonna know it. Listen, if you can't stand Bendis dialogue, I understand. I disagree, but I understand. Maybe skip this one. There's a lot. There's a big argument between Scott and Emma, which is why we collected it here, because they have the postscript talk about their breakup here.
It's fascinating reading what we, that moment, because it gets a quick 1-panel flashback, this very savage drawing of Cyclops like attacking Emma, and you realize like, okay, well, there's a reason these characters really can't get over what happened. Like they have been
Right.
traumatized, and they were, whether it was by their own doing or not, they've traumatized each other, but
It
they
still happened.
Yeah.
You
So
can't get over the fact that the act happened.
right. Yeah. So there is that great moment where Magic pops her head over. Magic is hilarious in this, by the way.
Okay. This is between the costume and the fact that Magic becomes the breakout character by being really fun.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Magic is just an X-Men now.
Yeah, but she sticks her head out over after that argument. Is like, "Are you guys back together?" And they're both like, "No." And she's like, "Thank God." Like,
She says, "Thank the Dark Lords."
yes,
Thank
the
you
Dark
very
Lord.
much.
Then what does she do later? She's
very
like,
good.
let's go to Avengers Mansion and like empty out their underwear drawers or something.
Yeah, steal their underwear drawer.
Love it.
Magic is having fun in this because, very importantly, Magic is the only one who, with her powers being broken by the Phoenix Force, didn't really break them in so much as she gets more powerful with the limbo stuff. Again, how this ties into Dark Beast and this is, again, Bendis' execution. Later on in the series, there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
But in these 4 issues, it's a lot of fun.
I think it's a lot of fun.
It's the Zorn thing. It's like, if you take it for what it is, this is fun. I like it.
Yeah. Hey, I still hold this in a lot of high regard. I think it's a lot of fun. I think if you are not a fan of Bendis talk, and the dialogue, you're not gonna love this. But there's so much fun stuff here. In terms of the reinvention of these characters and where it goes from here. So we've basically gone through Scemma's entire beginning and end until now.
Guys, the middle is stuff that we've already talked about.
Right.
I mean, like, the middle is all of Astonishing X-Men, all of New X-Men, and all of the Fraction stuff.
Yeah.
We did that already.
Yeah. And for you Scemma fans out there, they're hooking up now. So great. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, folks, make sure you clean out your Scemma. And it's such a bad name. It's gross. It really is. Just, I do not care for the phrase Scemma. Please come up with a better ship name, or don't, because I find the shipping part of fandom culture intense in ways that I do not relate to fictional comic book characters.
So at 205, we have the first 3 issues of Wolverine and the X-Men, and I like this better than that.
This is better than that. Where do we have that Dormammu story?
That's a great question. It's at 125.
125. I think the Dormammu issue is probably better because it tells a story, or issues, where this one doesn't necessarily tell a story.
Yeah, it's tough because and I know you do too. I love this art. I just think
Adam, we're a podcast named Battle of the Atom, which is a Brian Michael Bendis story. We don't have to justify that. We like that.
Yeah.
So we are worse than that, though.
Yeah, I do think the second arc is stronger than that. That
142 is Exterminators. Exterminators is better.
The original Exterminators?
The original Exterminators. I love the original Exterminators.
Yeah. Okay.
144 is the time that Captain America had Magneto show up during Acts of Vengeance, and Magneto threw Red Skull in a hole. 144 is better and kind of too low on this list.
I do think
it's tangentially an X-Men story.
This is better than at 150 Cable number 22, the Sad Airport issue.
This is better than most of the stories in Merry X-Men Holiday Special, but not better than the best stories in Merry X-Men Holiday Special, which I think means that it goes above it.
Okay.
But I think Murder at the Mansion from New X-Men is better.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. So this is going to be our new 149?
149, it's The Revolution from Uncanny X-Men Volume 3. And folks, we've done it. We've got our Scemmas taken care of. We want to thank Connor Mulvaney went on over to Patreon, did all that stuff we talked about at the beginning of the episode. And we had a great time. So Thank you so much. If you want to be like Connor, get in on this, folks. We've got so many stories yet to cover on our giant list. our list that's too long. We didn't even say, but there were 711 stories to start the night. We're at 714 now. We've been
Every
doing
time we have a
this too
guest
much.
on now, they just are like, what are you doing over here?
What we're doing is running out of X-Men stories. I can tell you what we're doing.
It's great.
Adam, what do you got to plug?
Oh gosh, normally I plug my Twitter, but I'm not really using it right now. So because Twitter is just weird, right? It's weird right now. So if I would recommend anybody wants to follow, like, hit me up on my Instagram. It's Instagram adam.rec. I also am trying a Hive. That's at AdamRec. So
I like Hive.
Hive is fun. I don't know. I'm not convinced it works. But
I'm not, but here's the thing about Hive not working. Hive not working means that I'm not constantly on Hive. I'm like, okay, well, I can be done now.
Yeah. No,
it gives me built-in breaks because the two people running that website.
Yeah, I want Hive to succeed. You know what I mean? Like, it's
we are all buzzing for Hive's
It's like a
success.
homemade pie, like, anyway. And what else is going on? I'm still covering Andor. So check that out on Comics XF. We did episode 10.
Still going on?
It's almost over. The season finale will have aired by the time this episode comes out. So I covered episode 11. I'm covering episode 12 with Austin and Armand. So AAA. So check all that stuff out. And Zach, what do you got going on? What are we doing next week?
I've got nothing going on. If you want to help me hit my annual sales numbers and buy a lot of industrial grade HVAC motors, I mean, like, then you can find me on social media and let me know. But you have to get your orders in before the end of the year so we can invoice them. I'm begging you so much.
Fourth quarter. Let's get it going.
It's fourth quarter. It's crunch time, baby. I'm all about that hustle. Never stop, never stopping. That's my life motto. And do you know who else's life motto is never stop, never stopping? It's Abigail Brand. Respect her name. Respect her name. We're talking about Sword next week.
Nice.
Talking about Sword and everyone's favorite. We're going to talk about why Beast can do war crimes and we're all mad at him. And Abigail Brand can do war crimes and we're like, you scamp. Till then, folks, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!